Tonight, the desperate rescue mission after a deadly blast at a Pennsylvania steel plant. The massive explosion sending a black cloud of smoke sky high. One person killed, nearly a dozen injured, and crews searching through the rubble for one person still missing. What happened and the concerns about the air. Also breaking tonight, the killings at a Target parking lot. The man in custody after allegedly gunning down 3 people and hijacking 2 cars in Austin. The new flood threat after storms submerged cars in Milwaukee. Video capturing a fiery lightning strike and a water spout sending beach umbrellas flying. And is the Atlantic's first hurricane of the season just days away? Bill Karen standing by with Tropical Storm Erin's potential track. President Trump's D.C. takeover, the president taking control of the city's department, deploying the National Guard, and new tonight, FBI agents are now patrolling the streets. Despite stats showing crime is down, we'll tell you which major cities could be next. And new missiles strike Ukraine. The high-stakes summit between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin looms. Will a key U.S. ally, Ukraine, be left out of the negotiations? And is a peace deal really within reach? The wild chase through L.A., armed carjackers hijacking multiple vehicles, including a big rig milk truck. The dangerous pursuit all caught on camera. The suspects still at large. And a boy and his prize-winning goat, his moment of pure joy, and why his 4th-place finish brought him to tears. Plus, the staggering cost of job hunting, one man spending $10,000 in hopes of getting hired. Is it really worth it? Top story starts right now. Good evening. We want to start with that breaking news tonight. The deadly steel plant explosion just outside of Pittsburgh. The time-lapse video, you see it here. It shows the moments this U.S. steel factory erupted into a plume of thick black smoke shortly after 11 this morning. Officials confirming one person was killed and 10 others injured in that blast. Rescue crews desperately searching for one more missing worker who may be trapped in that rubble. Here's a look at where that explosion happened. It's in Clairton, Pennsylvania. This is about 15 miles, you can see here, south of Pittsburgh. Authorities are urging local residents within a mile of that plant to stay indoors. With the investigation into what caused this explosion still underway, the health department on the scene now monitoring the potential air danger. NBC's Adrienne Broadus and her team have made their way there to that deadly blast. They lead us off tonight.
Tonight, urgent rescue efforts underway to find one missing worker from this steel plant. Officials say nearly a dozen people were injured and transported to local hospitals. One person killed.
Their efforts are very focused on rescue at this point. We are still engaged in the incident. Our focus right now is just continuing our search for one unaccounted person at this point.
Crews battling clouds of thick smoke billowing into the air.
Caller heard a loud explosion, now black smoke in the area.
After this explosion happened at U.S. Steel Clairton Coke Works this morning, authorities still investigating the cause.
I thought it was the train cars. You know, when your train backyard's the tracks, all you hear is the trains. But then I started hearing sirens, came outside, and there was big black smoke.
This is what the plant looked like before. Officials say nearly 1,300 workers are employed at the factory that produces fuel converted from coal used for steel production.
Safety is our #1 priority every day, every shift, 365. We will continue to work not only with the folks behind me, but the families of those that have been affected.
Tonight, the community here grieving the unexpected loss.
It's a sad day for Clairton, and it's a sad day for the steel workers. These guys come to work and make a living for their family, not knowing if they're going to make it home or not.
Adrienne Broadus joins us now live from Clairton, Pennsylvania. So, Adrienne, as they continue to search for that missing person, there's concerns about the air quality in that area. I know you have a mask in your hands tonight.
Yeah, I do. I'm keeping it handy, and when we finish our live report, Tom, I will put this mask back on. And folks who live within a 1-mile radius of the plant are also encouraged to do so. But that's not all. As you mentioned earlier, folks are encouraged to, out of an abundance of caution, keep their doors and windows closed and set their HVAC systems to recirculate. Now, the local health department says their air quality monitors have not detected a rise in levels, but they do not want to take any chances. Back to you.
We understand that. Okay, Adrian, we appreciate that. We're following more breaking news tonight, this time out of Austin, Texas, where 3 people are dead after a shooting inside of a Target parking lot. Police responding to the scene around 2:15 local time, where they say the suspect took off and hijacked a car after those shootings. For more, NBC's Priscilla Thompson joins us tonight. Priscilla, police giving an update a short time ago. What did we learn?
Yeah, Tom, well, still no word tonight on a possible motive, but we did learn that those 3 people are dead after gunfire erupted in the parking lot of that North Austin Target this afternoon. Police say that the suspect is a 32-year-old male who has been taken into custody and that he has a history of mental health issues and a criminal record. Police say that they arrived on scene to find 3 people who had been shot. One of them, the driver of a vehicle that the suspect actually fled in. Police say he then crashed that vehicle and hijacked another, and that ultimately they were able to take him down in South Austin using a taser. And still a lot of questions tonight specifically about what may have prompted this attack as the investigation there continues. Tom.
Priscilla Thompson on that breaking news tonight for us. Priscilla, we thank you. Tonight, millions are under a new flood threat after torrential rain left parts of the Midwest submerged. Homes and roads completely washed out. NBC's Maggie Vespa is in Wisconsin, where rivers are still raging.
New tonight, dramatic dashcam video of a massive lightning strike in South Carolina. Watch that again. A fireball erupts on the left, appearing to ignite power lines on the right, knocking out electricity and delaying traffic in Mount Pleasant, say police. Meanwhile, misery in Wisconsin after a harrowing stretch of storms and floods. New drone video showing cars submerged. Here, debris floats by a flooded home. Milwaukee slammed with a summer's worth of rain in one weekend storm. Dozens rescued by boat. Jerry Bresky and his family in this video.
You don't realize how drastic that rescue is until I saw the pictures. Wow, we were the ones getting rescued this time.
Their home flooded. The family today piled waterlogged possessions on the lawn.
In spots where waters receded, we're seeing intense damage like this. Floodwaters just ripped away part of this road, and now repair work is clearly underway.
Oh my God. Severe weather raging nationwide. In Nebraska, violent winds ripping the roof off this prison Saturday. Authorities say that storm killed a woman. Overnight, torrential flash floods hitting Florida's west coast, while 29 million Americans broil under heat alerts. Caribou, Maine, breaking a record.
Probably going to get off the bridge now.
A patchwork of dangerous summer weather that won't let up.
All right, Maggie Vespa joins us tonight from Waukesha, Wisconsin. Maggie, as we look over at your shot there, we can see those railings. That means the river is raging. It's flooding behind you, and the flood warnings have now been extended?
Yeah, they have, Tom. I'll step out of the way and show you this river better. The Fox River has been rising throughout the day, and you're right. It's coming up over that pedestrian walkway, creeping closer to that bridge. Flood warnings in particular around rivers and streams have now been extended into Wednesday. People hoping this doesn't rise much more. In the meantime, the city today in a press conference stressing they're trying to help people get their power turned back on, get sewer lines back up and running properly, but said it could take some time, noting they're short-staffed because a lot of city employees are dealing with damage at their own homes. Tom?
Okay, Maggie Vespa for us. Maggie, we thank you. We're also keeping a close eye on what could be the first hurricane of the 2025 season. Right now, Tropical Storm Erin is strengthening in the eastern Atlantic. I want to bring in our good friend meteorologist Bill Cairns. Bill, walk us through what may be the first major hurricane of the season.
Yeah, there's no reason this shouldn't become our first big storm of the season, and it's going to be with us for a while, maybe a good portion of the next 2 weeks. So let's take you to the beginnings of this. This just came off the coast of Africa 2 days ago. It's moving at about 21 miles per hour, so it's a decent clip, but it's not racing across the Atlantic. Right now, it's a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It looks like it will get its act together slowly over the next couple days. The Hurricane Center official forecast has it becoming a hurricane on Thursday, and then a major hurricane as it goes over very warm water by the time we get to Saturday. So at this point, everyone's like, all right, where does it go from here? What land areas are at risk? Well, the first thing you notice is it's far enough north away from the Windward and Leeward Islands, U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti. It looks looks to be to the north of you. So still obviously watch it, but that's good for you. After this, now we're so far in the distant forecast, we have to look at our long-range computer models. This purple lines are our European models. So we have one main one. We call it the operational. That's the one we show you where it says it's supposed to be the best one. But we can't perfectly initialize the atmosphere. We don't know everything in the atmosphere to put into the computers. So we tweak it a little bit, make the storm a little weaker, make it a little stronger, then rerun the models. And that's what each of these purple lines is. It's a different solution from the actual model itself. It kind of gives us a range of uncertainty because we don't have all the numerical information to put in. So it could go well out to sea, miss everyone. Bermuda definitely needs to watch this very closely. And then as far as the Turks and Caicos up into the Bahamas, only about 2 or 3 of these lines gets close enough to you. There's 51 of these lines, and only 3 of them, by the way, even approach the East Coast. So 3 out of 51 is why you're going to hear a lot of people saying this looks like it's going to turn out to sea. But we have so many days to watch this. The red lines, by the way, are our American models doing the same exact thing. Notice only 3 of those head down towards the Bahamas and Florida. The rest all turn it up towards Bermuda. And the reason why our computers is doing this is because high pressure, this big blue H we put on a map, this steers the storm. So it's going to steer to the south of here, but there's a weakness, a break in between the 2 areas of high pressure, and that's why we think it has an excellent chance to turn and be a big, huge, powerful storm, but not directly hit the East Coast. So, Tom, as long as this holds, and this is 8 days away, we all know how weather patterns can change, it would be a big swing and miss for the East Coast of the United States. But with such a big, powerful storm, no matter what, there's going to be rip currents, there's going to be huge waves, all that sort of stuff. But right now, a direct impact is looking most unlikely.
Okay, we are going to be tracking it every day, though, to keep an eye on it. Bill, we appreciate that. Now to Washington, President Trump declaring a public safety emergency, announcing plans to put the district's police under federal control and deploy hundreds of National Guard troops. The mayor of D.C. calling the move unsettling and unprecedented, as she stressed the city is not experiencing a crime spike. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez is at the White House to explain it all.
In the nation's capital tonight, a dramatic change after crime scenes like these. President Trump declaring a public safety emergency, deploying 800 National Guard troops to D.C. and taking control of the district's police department.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back.
That federal takeover can last up to 30 days without congressional approval. The troops set to fan out across D.C. over the next week, the White House says, to protect federal assets and deter violent crime.
It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness.
Even though crime statistics from the U.S. Attorney's Office in January said violent crime in D.C. was at a 30-year low, the police department says it was down 26% since last year.
So why do this now?
Crime has gone down. Gone down from what? Gone down from when? Crime is way too high in the district. And, this namby-pamby response that, crime is down. No, it isn't down for the people who are victimized by crime.
The head of the police union tells NBC News the crime stats have been manipulated, and any talk of a recent drop in crime is preposterous. Still, the D.C. City Council calls the federal police takeover a manufactured intrusion on local authority, and the mayor says it caught her off guard.
I don't want to minimize the intrusion on our autonomy.
The move comes after a former DOJ employee was attacked during an attempted carjacking last week. Over the weekend, the president ordered the deployment of nearly 500 federal officers around the district, leading to several arrests.
He's taking federal control of the police, and that's just not okay. I feel like these are the sorts of things that you start to see in dictatorships.
Trump has deployed federal resources to cities before, including thousands of National Guard troops this summer to Los Angeles to quell immigration protests and thousands of others to the southern border. The president saying federal intervention in other cities like New York and Chicago could be next.
We're not going to lose our cities over this, and this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez joins us tonight live from the White House. Gabe, we got 2 questions for you. First, there's new reporting tonight from NBC News and others that the FBI is now involved in this federal takeover.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. According to a senior law enforcement official, the White House actually authorized as many as 120 FBI agents to hit the D.C. streets over the weekend to work with the Metropolitan Police Department as part of this crackdown. And that number is expected to grow over the next 30 days. Now, this official did say it was a bit chaotic over the weekend with some of those agents not knowing who they were reporting to exactly. Now, the force will be a mix of agents who volunteered for the job over the next couple of weeks, and then others who have just been told to report for duty, according to the senior law enforcement official, Tom.
And Gabe, while we have you, another big headline from the White House. We have major developments about the release of those grand jury transcripts on the Epstein case and why they likely are not going to be released.
Yeah, that's right. A federal judge today denied the Justice Department's request to unseal grand jury materials in the criminal case against Ghislaine Maxwell. That's Epstein's accomplice. Now, the judge said that the grand jury materials do not identify anyone other than Epstein or Maxwell as having had sexual contact with a minor. Tom.
Okay, Gabe Gutierrez for us. President Trump also tonight preparing for his high-stakes summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin. The meeting set for Friday in Alaska will center around the ending of the war in Ukraine and will be Putin's first time on American soil in almost a decade. Notably, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky right now will not be in attendance. NBC's Andrea Mitchell has the latest reporting.
President Trump saying he's meeting with Russia's President Putin to find out what he wants.
Probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made.
Sources tell NBC News the White House considered including Ukraine's President Zelensky, but he is not invited.
He wasn't a part of it. I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. You know, he's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened.
Zelensky's fear that Trump and Putin will cut a deal without him.
I'm going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders right after the meeting.
And Trump said he'll talk to Putin about land swaps. The key issue, how much land Russia now controls it can keep, and how much would go back to Ukraine.
Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine.
Tonight, Zelensky saying Putin is still bombing civilian areas and sees the Alaska summit as his personal victory. Russia's attacks did anger Trump recently.
We get a lot of bull thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth.
But today he appeared frustrated with Zelensky for the war.
I get along with Zelensky, but, you know, I disagree with what he's done. Very, very severely disagree. This is a war that should have never happened.
If Putin and Trump agree to something that Zelensky can't agree to, and if Zelensky can't agree to it, the Europeans will not agree to it. The Europeans should also be part of this.
Vice President Vance did meet with European leaders and a top Ukrainian official in the UK this weekend. And the Europeans and Zelensky have scheduled a video conference with President Trump and Vance on Wednesday. Tom?
All right, Andrea Mitchell, we thank you. We're going to have much more on the Ukraine-Russia war later in the broadcast. For now, we want to move to the conflict in the Middle East. 5 journalists from Al Jazeera killed by an Israeli airstrike. Israel claiming one of those reporters was part of Hamas. This as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defends his plan to take over Gaza with the military. NBC's Matt Bradley has this report from the region.
Tonight, Gazan journalists laying to rest several more of their own. Al Jazeera said Israeli strikes killed 5 of its staff in a tent Sunday in Gaza City. Israel claimed the strike, accusing Al Jazeera reporter Anas al-Sharif of leading a Hamas terror cell, a charge he and Al Jazeera have repeatedly denied. Palestinian officials in Gaza say at least 238 journalists have been killed by Israel. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu plans to expand fighting in the Gaza Strip, saying last night he has no choice but to finish the job and defeat Hamas.
Our goal is not to occupy Gaza. Our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists.
Netanyahu's strategy would bring Israeli forces into camps housing hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians. The Prime Minister speaking with President Trump on Sunday, who he thanked for his steadfast support. Despite 2 weeks of aid being airdropped and trucked into Gaza, many suffering worsening hunger, Gazan officials now say more than 100 children have died from malnutrition. Israeli hostages' families now fearful the fighting could endanger their loved ones.
The blood will be on your hands.
Last night, Netanyahu once again denied that there was hunger in the Gaza Strip and said reports of the deteriorating humanitarian situation there were exaggerated. Tom?
Matt Bradley from Tel Aviv. We're back in a moment with the demands for answers after a gunman opened fire in Atlanta, killing a police officer and riddling CDC headquarters with bullets. New details about the gunman's possible motive. Plus, the high-speed chase through L.A., armed carjackers hijacking 3 different vehicles, including a big rig mill truck, driving the wrong way down the street, and the bizarre towing failure that sent a car crashing into a restaurant not once, but twice. We're going to explain this one for you. How did this happen? Stay with us. We're back now with new details on that deadly shooting near the CDC's headquarters in Atlanta. NBC News has learned investigators are now looking into comments the suspect made about the COVID vaccine as a possible motive. As RFK Jr. visited the site today, NBC's Priya Sridhar has the latest.
Tonight, CDC workers are demanding answers after a gunman opened fire in Atlanta, killing a police officer and riddling CDC headquarters with bullets.
We'll run an active shooter response.
A senior law enforcement official briefed on the investigation says family members told police the alleged gunman, 30-year-old Patrick White, previously made suicidal statements and recently blamed health issues on the COVID-19 vaccine. White died at the scene from gunshot wounds. It comes as the mother of police officer David Rose is remembering her son and honoring his brave response.
If you would ask him, he would do it again, he would do it again. That's the kind of person he is.
Today, the head of the CDC Workers Union says they don't feel safe going back to work.
Is there a certain set of parameters that need to be met for you guys to feel comfortable with returning to the office?
Yes, for one, security measures. This time the person did not penetrate the gates, but it doesn't mean that it won't happen the next time.
Earlier today, the Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. visited the CDC headquarters. In a statement, a spokesperson said Secretary Kennedy, quote, has unequivocally condemned the horrific attack, adding he remains fully committed to ensuring the safety and well-being of CDC employees. But some past and current CDC employees tell NBC News they believe his anti-vaccine rhetoric is partially to blame for the attack.
Not only does he have to condemn the attack, but he has to condemn the misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines, about CDC workers.
Priya Sridhar joins us now live from Atlanta. Priya, Secretary Kennedy also met with the widow of the fallen police officer.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. We know that Secretary Kennedy met with the widow of the fallen police officer. And as I mentioned, he came here to the CDC headquarters. And according to the head of the workers union, he did a walkthrough of some of those buildings that were struck by gunfire and met with some of the CDC leadership. But she says what the workers really want is for an opportunity to speak to Secretary Kennedy directly themselves so that they can express their concerns. Tom?
Priya Sridhar for us. Priya, thank you. Now to that dangerous high-speed chase caught on camera in L.A. A pair of armed carjackers stealing at least 3 vehicles, including a semi-truck, leading police through the streets of downtown L.A. in a chase that spanned more than 60 miles. And tonight they are still at large. NBC's Camila Bernal has the latest.
High-speed chaos.
Move out of the way, folks.
2 people carjacked vehicle after vehicle, including this semi-truck, in a wild and dangerous pursuit lasting more than an hour in Los Angeles.
Suspect carjacked a semi-truck, and it's now entering 5 freeway.
It started Sunday just after 10 p.m. north of the city. The sheriff's department says the pair stole a Ford F-150 at gunpoint. NBC Los Angeles reporting from the air as the events unfolded.
The officers are saying that the suspects opened fire on them.
As they made their way south, they drove the wrong way and repeatedly tried to swap cars.
Thankfully, that person had their door locked.
But eventually found their next getaway.
The driver just ran out. The driver said, "You can have it." Oh my gosh.
They sped off in a milk truck. Again, they drove in the wrong direction. The California Highway Patrol backing off out of safety concerns. In the streets of downtown Los Angeles, police again trying to catch up. They steal another car and go into residential neighborhoods. But despite the many eyes on them, in an underpass, the 2 got in a black vehicle and, according to the sheriff's department, in the end, got away.
All right, let's pick it up right there, Camila. Do we have any idea where these suspects are? Have police released any information about them?
We don't know where they are, Tom, but police just releasing information moments ago saying that they are still looking for these 2 people and say that they found a loaded firearm in the back of one of the trucks that they stole, the first one that they stole, that Ford pickup truck. They are also saying that they believe they received help. They received help in the beginning with the first truck that they stole, but also in the end, they say they were able to get away because authorities believe that there were people that were there waiting for them and helping them escape. Tom?
Camila Bernal for us. Camila, we thank you for that. All right, when Top Story returns, an update in that break-in at Brad Pitt's home when thieves climbed a fence and allegedly ransacked the actor's place wasn't part of a larger burglary ring. And career coaching, LinkedIn fees, resume help, why some people are forking out big bucks just to get a job. One person paying as much as 10 grand will help you navigate it. But first, Top Story's top moment, the crowning of the world's, you guessed it, ugliest dog. That's right, the contest was held in California on Friday, hosted and judged by our own NBC's Gotti Schwartz. Here's the moment he announced the winner.
Let's give it up for Petunia! Come on, everybody! World's ugliest dog right there. World's ugliest dog in pink. Petunia, oh my gosh.
Petunia, a 2-year-old hairless bulldog, reigned supreme, making her first TV appearance this morning on the Today Show. A big congratulations to Petunia. I don't think she's that ugly. I actually think she's great. Okay, stay with us. We're back in a moment.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Tom Llamas.
And good evening. We are coming on the air with breaking news. Ukrainians are waking up to the sounds of explosions and emergency sirens. Russia's unprovoked attack on Ukraine is underway. Welcome back. That was a clip from our special report now more than 3 years ago, announcing the start of what would become the bloodiest war Europe has seen since World War II. Tonight, we're taking a look back to explain how we got here, where the battle lines have been drawn, and how much of a prospect peace really is. You'll remember these images seared into the minds of Ukrainians, columns of Russian tanks and thousands of troops marching across their homeland. Ukraine standing firm despite being badly outmanned and outgunned with a tenacity that would shock the world. The Russians invading from the north, the south, and the east, which you can see right here. And many expected Ukraine's capital to fall within days, but more than 41 months into this war, Kyiv still stands. But for thousands of civilians caught in the middle of a desperate race to escape, you may remember these pictures. We were there as women and children fled west, leaving the men behind to fight. Those harrowing photos, the crush at the gates, trains packed, the final waves through the window, and this boy, an orphan, with a message for his friends back home that broke our hearts.
Anything you want to say to anybody, any of your friends back in that other region?
I want them to stay alive, not to die.
In the years since, both countries paying a terrible cost for this war, the Center for Strategic and International Studies estimating Russia has suffered nearly 950,000 casualties, 250,000 deaths. Ukraine, 400,000 casualties, 60 to 100,000 deaths. You see it right here. And that's what they've come up with in their stats as they're looking to this war. There's a lot that has happened in both Ukraine and Russia, and so much politics have happened as well. You can see the numbers when you look at this. So many people have died. Now, this is where we stand right now. The battle lines are drawn according to the Institute for the Study of War. Russia claims territory in 4 regions of eastern Ukraine, shaded red right here. Ukraine has repelled Russian forces in all the areas in blue here. They've been fighting hard. They've moved into the purple area here, the Kursk region, but they've been essentially pushed out of their own country. The stakes are high for both sides in this war, as well as the rest of Europe. This map here shows Russia in red with the NATO countries in blue. Ukraine, as you can see, yellow is caught in the middle. You can kind of see the NATO lines here, the different boundaries. If Ukraine falls to Russia, one of them could possibly be next. A coalition of Western allies has been helping to keep Ukraine in the fight, supplying them with advanced weapons and equipment from Patriot missile systems to F-16 fighter jets. Russia, on the other hand, has had to call up conscripts to bolster their military and has even accepted the help of North Korea and their soldiers in this Ukrainian offensive. The wild card in all of this, the U.S. The war started during the Biden administration, which fully backed Ukraine and its president, Volodymyr Zelensky. His successor, Donald Trump, promised peace within 24 hours of taking office, a promise he wasn't able to keep. And while he has mostly maintained support to Ukraine, there have been tense moments as well.
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You got to be more thankful. Because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
In recent weeks, President Trump has expressed frustration with Putin as well, threatening additional sanctions against Russia's partners if it didn't end the war. Could a face-to-face meeting between Trump and Putin be a concrete step towards peace? Joining us now to help answer that question and more is Robert English. He's director of the USC School of International Relations. He's an expert on the politics of Russia and the former USSR. Robert, we thank you so much for being here. Does Russia really want peace? And if not, can President Trump get them there?
Russia wants to win, and then the peace that would follow would be just fine with them. But they don't want peace for its own sake. And right now, Putin is pushing hard to try to take every last inch of territory he can. Those 4 regions of Ukraine that Russia has already annexed but does not control seem to be his immediate prize. And it may be that after that, he is ready to parley. But at the moment, as you know, they're bombing, they're grinding forward on the ground, and there's no sign of war relenting. Peace is still quite some distance away.
Robert, regardless of what happens at this summit Friday, is the fact that the president is taking this meeting a win for Putin?
Yeah, in narrow diplomatic terms, in terms of protocol, it's a win because he's been ostracized. And there's been an unofficial rule, certainly among the European allies, not to meet with Putin or even speak directly. That's been fraying over the last year or so. Some Central European leaders went and visited. There have been some phone calls. So the isolation has started to crack. And now with this meeting, even more so. But that's not the main thing. Whether they're talking by phone, by Zoom, or in person, what matters is the substance. And we see that the Ukrainian side hasn't yielded an inch. They want every bit of territory back, and the Russian side still wants more. So a compromise remains, again, quite out of reach at the moment.
If a ceasefire deal is reached and we get closer to peace and President Trump is successful, and he is trying to make that effort right now in Alaska, how do the Ukrainians trust the Russians from preventing future attacks?
You know, I think the most interesting news right now, and it's an indirect answer to your question, is that we have fresh poll numbers out of Ukraine itself, which show some striking changes. 3 years ago, over 75% of Ukrainians said, we want to fight and win this war. Only a small minority said, let's compromise and give up territory. Now those numbers have reversed. And nearly 70% of Ukrainians say they want an immediate ceasefire and negotiations. So that's a big change. However, they don't want to compromise on Russia's terms, but they are willing to follow what has emerged as the EU plan, which is freeze the lines where they are now and talk down the road about the ultimate status. So this would freeze the conflict, but it would not agree to give up those territories. And in the meantime, Ukraine would get security guarantees. They would get West European and maybe American troops to patrol that peace. And that's the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Ukraine looks like a majority would agree to a ceasefire where things stand now if they got those Western troops.
Robert, President Trump has floated the idea of land swaps to end this war. Zelensky has rejected that out of hand already. Is there a way that the president, though, can force Zelensky's hand to take a deal that maybe he doesn't absolutely love?
He can't force directly, but he can pressure, right? He's already halted supplies of American weapons. Let's not forget that if any American manufactured weapons are getting to Ukraine, it's because the Europeans are buying them and transferring them. We are not helping anymore, except in a crass commercial sense. And that is hurting. And those Patriot missile batteries, $2 billion each, extremely expensive and in limited supply. So the arms supplies to Ukraine are slowing down. And that is a kind of indirect pressure on Ukraine to compromise. The Europeans are keeping them in the fight, but it's a defensive fight. It's not a fight that's going to regain that territory. So I think all sensible analysts expect that the fighting will stop somewhere in the next few months along the lines where it is now, and neither side is going to score big new gains. The details of, again, security guarantees, patrols, peacekeepers, and economic support are what will enable a final deal. And we're, again, far away from agreement on that.
Yeah. Robert, great to talk to you tonight. We thank you for all of your analysis. We turn now to Top Stories news feed, starting in Montana, where two planes collided on a runway at the Kalispell Airport. You see the flames erupting after officials say a plane that was landing slammed into another one already on the runway. Smoke billowing from the crash. A pilot and 3 passengers were on board. Everyone somehow made it out alive. 2 have been treated for minor injuries. Suspects believed to be part of a burglary crew that broke into Brad Pitt's L.A. home earlier this summer have now been arrested. Pitt's home was broken into in June 26th. While he was on a promotional tour for the film F1, the burglars are believed to have climbed over a front fence before ransacking the residence and leaving with some property. The LAPD identified suspects using security cams and other evidence. And in Washington State, a towing failure sending a car crashing into a restaurant not once but twice. You got to watch this video. Surveillance shows a man's attempt to tow a vehicle going terribly wrong. The tow strap appears to break, sending the car flying into the restaurant right here. The man doesn't give up, trying and failing again, and police now sharing the video, asking for help in what they're considering a hit-and-run incident. Bizarre one. Okay, and soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo and his longtime girlfriend, Georgina Rodriguez, are finally engaged after 8 years of dating. The future bride showing off her whoa, look at that. Her massive engagement ring on Instagram today. I wonder if he went to Jared's. All right, she shared the news on Instagram. A translated caption says, "Yes, I do, in this and in all my lives." Okay, the couple has been together since 2017 and share 5 children. Congrats to them. And beloved chain restaurant getting a refresh. Cracker Barrel updating some locations with a more modern look, and customers have mixed feelings. NBC's Marissa Parra has more on what's behind the makeover.
For over 50 years, Cracker Barrel has been serving up a slice of rustic country to suburbia.
Home-style cooking brings family together.
Between the rocking chairs, the old-timey gift shop, and those biscuits and gravy, Southern comfort has always been on the menu.
Here at Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, we keep our routine so you can get out of yours.
But a new change to that nostalgic routine is stirring the pot.
Look around. Wow, look how bright it is.
A select number of stores undergoing a redesign for a more modern feel.
We got all new lighting, new seating, new tables and chairs.
This video is from a Tennessee location posted last August, just now going viral. While some are embracing the change,
the paint color is just so much lighter, and I think it's so much better.
Others argue the remodel chips away at that Southern charm.
But the inside remodel, Cracker Barrel for real, you're losing your feel.
While Cracker Barrel has said only about 30 of its 600-plus restaurants will get a full remodel, in a statement the chain says feedback from both guests and team members has been overwhelmingly positive, adding the strong performance of these locations affirms that we are moving in the right direction. In an interview last summer, Cracker Barrel's CEO telling CNBC the transformation is part of a multi-year brand refresh.
Our goal is to take what people love about Cracker Barrel and open the aperture a little bit so that more people love Cracker Barrel. So we want to appeal to all generations.
Cooking up a new look is all the rage. Denny's, Popeyes, Burger King, all getting modern makeovers. With sleek exteriors, brighter dining rooms, and high-tech features like these self-service kiosks in Burger King's newly remodeled Sizzle stores.
You don't want to eat somewhere where the carpet is from the 1980s. The look and feel of a restaurant, because the customers are spending money going there, is vital.
Across the country, restaurant chains have been struggling, with Hooters, TGI Fridays, and Red Lobster all filing for bankruptcy in the past year. A recent survey also found nearly 70% of consumers say they're eating at home more often.
We have all of our great decor here.
While Cracker Barrel tests a refreshed look, industry experts say it's a gamble catering to changing appetites without leaving a bad taste in the mouths of loyal customers.
I love to go somewhere where the food is good, but the atmosphere has to be good too, because I don't want to eat somewhere boring.
Marissa Parra, NBC News.
We hope the menu doesn't change much. All right, now to Money Talks as the economy reels from disappointing job numbers. The cost of finding a job is climbing sky high. New reporting from the Wall Street Journal, take a look, finds that some job seekers are paying more than $10,000 in their job search, investing in career coaching, LinkedIn fees, and resume help in an attempt to stand out. Joining me now is the Wall Street Journal reporter who worked on this, Lindsay Ellis, who wrote that article. Lindsay, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So that's an eye-popping figure, right, for a job search, $10,000. How and why is that happening?
So there are two converging factors here. One is that job searches are getting longer. For unemployed Americans, the average job search is now 24 weeks, according to federal data, and that's a month longer than it was a year prior. The other big factor is that there's just this growing cottage industry of services and goods that is being marketed to white-collar workers, especially in this changing moment for work and for the job search itself. So think AI resume tools or coaching, specialized coaching. And so those two factors together are really driving up costs for many American job seekers.
Yeah, it is such a sort of a wild time. One of the people you spoke to had this breakdown of costs. $200 on LinkedIn Premium, $900 on coding classes, $50 for a career coach, $700 for AI tools to sharpen the resume, and $500 for study materials. On top of that, he just spent $17,000 last year for a coding boot camp. That all adds up to more than $20,000, and he still plans to attend college for cybersecurity. So he's paying for all these classes and services, but do they actually help? Is this the new normal?
So I think when I talk to job seekers, it's a real question of what exactly is going to pay off here. And I think the frustrating thing for many of them is that they just don't know. Will that extra certification or that extra class help your resume break through when hundreds of other people are applying? They don't know. Will advice from another career coach be useful in networking, or attending a conference make the right introduction? And I think that sense of randomness is what's been quite unnerving for many people who have been on the hunt in the recent stretch.
Yeah, and then you also report it takes almost 6 months on average for someone to find a job. That's a long time to be out of work. What advice do you have for job seekers that maybe don't have $10,000 laying around?
Well, so the advice that I hear from career advisors and people who are in, recruiting or in recruiting firms, is that who you know matters a lot in this moment. It's so easy to apply for a job online via LinkedIn or on job boards or websites. So getting a connection inside a company goes a long way. One person I talked to, he spent a ton of money, to get a credential in HR, and even went back to school for a master's in HR. But what got him the job search, he says, was his $20 a month gym membership, because a guy who he met working out said, "Oh, my company's hiring. Here's a referral." So that question of, you never know who in your network or who in your world might make that connection that will pay off is the advice that I keep hearing.
It is clear it's harder to get a job. That much we know. Okay, we thank you so much for coming on Top Story tonight. Still to come on the broadcast, the race to save the glaciers. Our Molly Hunter in the Swiss Alps, where giant masses of ice are melting at an alarming rate. Plus, the moment caught on camera when a Chinese Coast Guard ship barrels into a Navy destroyer. Also from China, that story in Global Watch next. Back now with Top Stories Global Watch, and evacuations underway in Montenegro following fast-growing wildfires. Video shows firefighters rescuing stray dogs from a shelter along the coast as flames close in on the building. Officials say the wildfires spread after temperatures spiked to 109 degrees. Europe is dealing with an ongoing heat wave that has triggered wildfires across at least 8 countries, including a deadly blaze in Greece. And a sad update on a story we first reported back in June. A Colombian senator who was shot at a campaign event has died. Miguel Uribe, succumbing to his injuries and dying in a Bogota hospital just 9 weeks after he was shot in the head at a presidential campaign rally by a 14-year-old. The 39-year-old's death, the latest in a string of ongoing conflicts with armed rebel groups and narco-traffickers who use violence to seize land, power, and money. And the moment a Chinese Coast Guard ship accidentally rams its own Navy warship while chasing a Philippines Coast Guard vessel in the South China Sea caught on tape. There was a lot there, but take a look. Video shows the Chinese Coast Guard slamming into the massive warship, reportedly losing its bow along the way. Philippine officials say they were monitoring a shared region in those long-disputed waters when China began dangerous blocking maneuvers. Chinese officials have yet to comment on the incident. And across Europe, shrinking glaciers are signs of just how rapidly climate change is impacting the continent. The glaciers there are melting faster than ever and anywhere else in the world. NBC's Molly Hunter traveled to the Alps to get a first-hand look at the dramatic retreat.
As we hike towards the mighty Morteratsch Glacier high in the Swiss Alps.
So we can see the glacier now.
There it is!
Yeah.
Even in its relatively diminished state, it is extraordinary.
So I'm seeing a lot of falling rock danger signs.
Yeah, exactly. So here on the sides, we have this debris that was deposited by the glacier. And as it's retreated, this landscape becomes quite unstable. And so that's why you have rocks falling off the sides.
But looking up to that ledge,
yeah,
that was the former glacier line.
Exactly. So this kind of marks the margin of the glacier. So it's not just the length change, but it's also the thickness, right?
Woo! As we near 7,000 feet, the air gets thinner. We're on the heels of scientist Leo Hosley doing his PhD work at Morteratsch as we make the final scramble up.
Wow, the sound of that.
Yeah.
We hear it before we see it.
This is amazing.
Made it.
That's cold.
That's very cold. Yeah. It's a really apparent sign of climate change. The glacier retreat is going to affect the water availability, and in the end, it all flows into the seas, right, into the oceans, and there it's going to affect sea level rise, and that affects a huge amount of people.
European glaciers are melting faster than anywhere else on the planet. New research published in Nature Science Journal finds they've lost about 40% of their volume in the last 25 years, equivalent to about 3 Olympic swimming pools every second. Researchers here have been measuring the dramatic retreat for more than a century.
We've just walked the path of where the glacier used to be to get up here. The situation is dire, and we can see that. But there's also a lot of ice up above me, and there's a lot of beauty that's worth saving.
Across the border in Austria, glaciologist Andrea Fischer says it's too late to save Austria's glaciers in their current state.
We will lose 1/3 of the Austrian glaciers entirely during the next 5 years.
Fischer brought an NBC News team here to Stubai Glacier back in 2005.
There is no possibility to save glaciers without saving climate.
Protective blankets covered the slopes then, but today she calls them glacier band-aids. And as we're talking,
there's lots of debris coming down off this rock.
You can hear it right
face.
now.
Yeah.
Actually.
Back down in the valley, cleanup is underway after a massive landslide last month.
People say the Alps have always been risky. There's always been instability in major mountain ranges, which is true, but not like this.
Now the events are more often and stronger, and this is the result of climate change.
And in neighboring Switzerland, a glacial slide obliterated the village of Blatten.
The next 20 to 50 years will bring extreme changes for us people living in the mountains, for all peoples living on the whole globe. And we have to think about the consequences.
These type of events that
former pro snowboarder Johan Gom is also thinking about adaptation. He's created a 3D modeling tool currently in testing. It predicts when landslides or avalanches may happen, how far and wide they may travel, and specifically what kind of damage they may bring.
We still want to live in the mountain. We still want to go on these very beautiful hikes out there. It's really beautiful out there, so we want to make our mountain safe.
And back on Morteratsch, Hosley is remarkably still optimistic.
Yes, they're melting, yes, they're retreating, but they're still incredibly beautiful. They're still large, they're still big, there's still huge amounts of ice here. And so it's not like it's a completely lost cause. There's still something to save here, right?
Molly Hunter, NBC News on Morteratsch Glacier in Switzerland.
Coming up on Top Story, the heartwarming moment of fourth place finish turned one 5-year-old into the GOAT, literally at a local competition. We'll explain when we come back. You won't want to miss this one. Finally tonight, 5-year-old Milo and his goat teddy bear may have come in fourth place at their competition in Texas, but the moment they shared after getting their ribbon was definitely best in show. I had a chance to chat with Milo and his mom today about that special moment.
As we zoom in on this goat showing in Kingsville, Texas, meet 5-year-old Milo Garza staring at his yellow ribbon. Just look at that face. Over the moon about winning fourth place, even kissing his little goat teddy bear and hugging him tightly. We had to know the story behind this video.
Hello, goat.
Milo and his mom Elizabeth telling us how it all went down. It turns out the whole Garza family loves goats.
We feed them, and we work them, and we walk them. We give them water.
But Milo was actually filling in for his big brother. So this was Milo's moment, and he knew Teddy Bear was one special goat.
Milo, if you can just tell me, what's one great thing about Teddy Bear?
His legs.
What about his legs?
They're fat.
There you have it. One of the secrets of goat showing. From the new kid on the block, his mom saying Milo's been working hard, and that moment captured on video, the joy of competition for a 5-year-old boy and his favorite goat.
It was a raw emotion, you know, it was something totally like unexpected.
Yeah.
You know, and just the love that he has for his goats. Milo is a goat lover. You know, he goes outside and he's constantly, you know, kissing the goats, you know, loving on the goats, you know, hugging them. And he's just, I mean, they're pets to him, and he can't get enough of them.
Milo loves goats. Just ask him. All right. Thanks so much for watching Top Story tonight. I'm Tom Llamas, back in New York. Stay right there. More news on the way. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.